What if I told you your greatest breakthrough doesn't require noise, validation, or applause, just silence and ruthless focus? Operation Mahadev isn't about war on the outside, it's the battle within. It's the quiet revolution, the disciplined awakening, the unshakable mindset that turns ordinary men into forces of nature. Today, you're not just hearing a speech, you're stepping into your power. This is Operation Mahadev, and it's time to unleash what's been sleeping inside you. Let me tell you something that most people avoid facing. The real war isn't out there. It's not your job, your haters, your struggles, or even your circumstances. The fiercest battlefield you'll ever face is the one behind your own eyes, the war inside your mind. And until you win there, you'll keep losing out here. That's why Operation Mahadev doesn't begin with noise or strategy. It starts in silence with the decision to confront yourself. See, everybody wants to win. Everybody wants the glory, the confidence, the freedom. But no one talks about what it actually costs. No one shows you the part where you're sitting alone in your room late at night, fighting the urge to quit, to give up, to go back to your comfort zone. That's the real operation. That's where the work is happening, when your doubts whisper louder than your dreams, when your past failures try to convince you that you're not enough, when fear grips your throat and tells you to stay small. That's when warriors are made. You want to know what most people do in that moment? They run, they numb themselves with distractions, they blame the world, they look for someone to validate their pain. But the ones who tap into something higher, they don't run, they sit in it. They feel every ounce of it. They don't drown the noise, they learn to stand above it. They become the observer, not the victim. And that shift, that stillness, is where real power begins to rise. Look, this isn't about being perfect. This isn't about never falling. It's about never backing down from yourself. You've got to look your fears dead in the eye and say, you don't get to run this anymore. You've got to take responsibility, not just for your actions, but for your thoughts, your habits, your energy, your environment. That's self-mastery. That's the root of every transformation. People love to talk about transformation like it's a glow up, like it's something that happens when you finally get the results. Nah, the real transformation happens when no one claps for you, when no one believes in you, when you wake up and choose discipline over dopamine, when you start doing the things you said you would do, not for anyone else, but because you made a promise to you. And when you keep that promise, when you follow through, even when it's hard, even when no one sees it, that's when your confidence starts to shift, not because of what the world says, but because deep down, you know who the hell you are. And I know it's hard. You're tired. You're carrying scars nobody sees. But that pain, that weight, that pressure building inside you, it's not meant to break you. It's meant to build you. It's trying to force the old you to die so the real you can rise. But you've got to stop avoiding the fire. You've got to walk through it. Burn the old excuses. Burn the need to be understood. Burn the false identity you've been hiding behind. Operation Mahadev demands it. It demands that you trade your comfort for your calling, that you stop chasing approval and start chasing alignment, that you stop reacting and start leading yourself. Because here's the truth, once you win the war within, nothing outside can touch you. You become bulletproof. Unshakable, you stop flinching at criticism. You stop waiting for perfect time and you stop asking for permission. Why? Because you've already faced the worst version of yourself and you didn't run. You stood tall, you trained, you suffered, you adapted. And now you own that power. Quietly, calmly, ruthlessly. That's the version of you the world needs, not the watered down version, not the overly agreeable one, the real one. The warrior who doesn't need to be seen to be powerful. The one who walks in discipline, breathes in silence, and leads with presence. That's Operation Mahadev. It's not a mission, it's your identity. And the moment you choose to stop fighting the world and start mastering yourself, everything changes. Everything. You know what most people get wrong about growth? They wait for motivation to show up. They wait for the mood, the vibe, the perfect playlist, the stars to align. But life doesn't care about your feelings. The world doesn't wait for you to be in the right mood to act. And success, real lasting success, isn't about how hyped you are. It's about how disciplined you are every single day. That's why I say this loud and clear. Discipline is the new devotion. It's not a punishment. It's not a restriction. It's a form of love. Real, brutal, sacred love for your future self. When you choose discipline, you're choosing to rise above the noise. You're choosing alignment over addiction, structure over chaos, commitment over convenience. It's not flashy. It's not loud. But it's what separates the ones who dream from the ones who do. You want to know what devotion looks like. It's not lighting candles or whispering affirmations. It's waking up when the alarm hits 5 a.m. and your body is screaming to sleep in. It's eating clean when your cravings are pulling you toward comfort food. It's putting your phone on do not disturb when your mind wants to scroll for distraction. It's going to the gym when nobody's watching. It's working on your goals in silence without needing applause. That's what devotion looks like in the real world. Because here's the truth. Discipline is a decision you make every moment. It's the way you walk, breathe, speak, think. It's how you carry yourself when no one's around to see it. The quiet choices, the ones you could easily cheat, the ones that build you or break you. Discipline teaches you to trust yourself again, to be your own leader, your own protector, your own provider. And no, it's not always pretty. Discipline means saying no when everything in you wants to say yes. It means not negotiating with your lesser self. It's uncomfortable. It's lonely. It's boring sometimes, but do you want to be entertained or do you want to evolve? Because every time you honor your discipline, you're taking back a piece of your power. Every rep, every focused hour, every early morning, it's a deposit into your future. Most people want the reward, but they're not willing to pay the price daily. That's not devotion. That's wishful thinking. Operation Mahadev isn't about short-term intensity. It's about long-term integrity. It's about rewiring your mind to show up no matter what, rain or shine. Hyper, no hype, because when your discipline is stronger than your moods, you become unstoppable. When your rituals are locked in, you don't need inspiration. You are the inspiration. People ask me, how do I stay consistent? You stop negotiating. That's it. You stop giving yourself the option to slack. You don't ask if you feel like doing it. You just do it. Just like brushing your teeth. You don't wake up every day and decide whether hygiene is worth it, right? You just do it. That's the mindset you bring to your purpose. Make it non-negotiable. You see, the world is noisy right now. Everyone's looking for shortcuts, hacks, quick dopamine hits. But you're different. You're not here for average. You're here to become someone unrecognizable. And that version of you, that evolved, locked in, grounded version of you, he's built in discipline, not by accident, not overnight, but brick by brick, breath by breath, routine by routine. And the wild part is, once you make discipline your lifestyle, it no longer feels like a grind. It becomes your peace. It becomes your rhythm. It becomes your energy. Because while the world sleeps in, scrolls endlessly, breaks promises, it's a you who stays true. It's you who keeps showing up. And in that quiet consistency, you become untouchable. So don't wait for motivation. Don't chase energy spikes. Build your foundation in discipline. Be devoted to your greatness, because that's what this operation is really about. Not hype, not talent, but becoming the kind of person who can't be shaken because your devotion to growth runs deeper than your desire for ease. That's where the real transformation begins. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to tell the world what they're about to do, what their plans are, how they're going to win. But here's the hard truth. Talking about it won't get you there. Explaining your vision won't build it. Real progress doesn't happen in your mouth. It happens in your movement, in your execution, in the quiet moments when you stop speaking and start doing. We live in a time where people confuse talking about success with building it. They post their goals, announce their next big move, drop cryptic quotes like they're already living the life they haven't even started working for. But you have to understand this: lions don't roar when they're hunting. They move in silence with precision, patience, and power. The loudest one in the room is rarely the most dangerous. It's the one who doesn't need to be seen, doesn't need to be understood, because they already understand themselves. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to explain your hustle. That energy you waste trying to get others to believe in you, reinvest it into your craft, into your growth, into your evolution. Because when you truly start to level up, when you begin to tap into your higher self, you no longer feel the urge to talk about it. Why? Because your results will do it for you. The ones who move mountains aren't broadcasting every step. They're busy lifting the weight. They're focused, dialed in, obsessed with the process. They're not counting likes or comments. They're counting reps, hours, books, strategies, wins stacked in silence. And when they show up, the world takes notice, not because they shouted, but because their presence became undeniable. You see, silence is your advantage. It keeps people guessing. It removes pressure. It gives you the space to fail, to learn, to grow without judgment, without interference. When you don't announce your every move, you give yourself the freedom to evolve without being boxed in by other people's expectations. That's where the real power lies. In the shadows, in the unseen work, in the 5 a.m. grinds, in the late night planning, in the quiet discipline that builds champions long before the world ever sees them. And I get it. It feels good to be seen. It feels good to say, look at me, I'm doing it. But ask yourself what matters more: being seen doing the thing, or becoming the thing so deeply that even if no one sees it, it still changes your life. Operation Mahadev isn't about noise. It's about identity. It's not about getting loud. It's about getting real. Are you actually putting in the work, or are you just playing the part for approval? This path doesn't reward performance. It rewards execution. Ruthless, consistent, private execution. There's a certain kind of peace that comes when you stop talking and just act, when you stop needing validation and just commit, when you stop explaining your vision and start living it. That's when things begin to shift, not outside, but inside. You start to feel grounded, confident, not because you told the world, but because you showed yourself. Because that's what it's really about, proving it to you, not your followers, not your family, not your circle, just you. And when you get that locked in, when you show up again and again without needing to say a word, you become a force, unshakable, respected, not for how loud you are, but for how real you are. Let the world speculate. Let them wonder what you're working on. Let them guess how you're moving. Meanwhile, you stay focused. You stay consistent. You stay silent and let your results scream louder than any post or promise ever could. That's how you win. Quietly, powerfully, completely. Most people run from being alone. They think isolation is a punishment. They think silence means something's wrong. But what if I told you that isolation isn't the problem? It's the invitation. What if I told you that your greatest growth, your deepest clarity, your strongest transformation will not come in the crowd, but in the quiet? See, Operation Mahadev isn't built in comfort zones. It's forged in moments where you choose isolation, not because you're broken, but because you're becoming something unshakable. There's a reason you feel the need to pull away when you're evolving. It's not because you're antisocial. It's not because you're weird. It's because the old version of you no longer fits the rooms you used to sit in. The conversations feel empty. The energy feels off. And you start to crave solitude, not as an escape, but as a return to self. That's the beginning of the real shift, when you no longer fear being alone with your thoughts. When you stop needing the noise to distract you from the work you know you need to do inside. But here's what they won't tell you. Growth can feel like loneliness at first. You'll have moments where you feel like nobody gets it. Like you're on your own path with no map, no applause, no support system. And that's exactly where you need to be, because isolation removes the echo. It strips away the opinions. It shuts off the noise. And in that stillness, you finally hear your voice, your truth, your mission. That's not weakness. That's alignment. You've got to stop seeing isolation as a setback. Start seeing it as a setup for recalibration, for redirection, for refinement. When you're surrounded by constant input from others, you lose sight of your own inner compass. You start adopting their fears, their doubts, their limits. But when you isolate with intention, when you step back from the chaos to sit with your thoughts, your goals, your vision, that's when you unlock clarity that the world could never give you. And no, it's not always comfortable. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself you've ignored. It shines a light on your patterns, your procrastination, your distractions. But that discomfort, that's the signal. That means you're finally waking up to what needs to change. And when you sit through it instead of running from it, something powerful starts to shift. You start becoming more grounded, more self-aware, more focused. You stop seeking permission. You stop asking for validation. You start owning your process fully. You see, everyone wants to be powerful, but very few are willing to do the lonely work it takes to get there. Everyone wants to be confident, but they avoid the silence where real self-trust is built. That's what makes Operation Mahadev different. It's not about isolation for isolation's sake. It's about choosing solitude so you can come back stronger, clearer, and sharper than ever before. While the world scrawls, you study. While they party, you prepare. While they escape, you evolve. That doesn't make you strange. It makes you disciplined. And that discipline, built in quiet corners, is what separates average from elite. You're not falling behind. You're pulling ahead, but you've got to stay focused long enough in your own lane to realize that. The truth is, once you've been through the fire of isolation, once you've stripped away the noise, you come out with a new kind of strength, the kind that doesn't depend on applause, the kind that doesn't get shaken by setbacks, the kind that doesn't flinch when people doubt you, because you've already walked through the wilderness alone and built your foundation on something real. So don't fear the silence. Embrace it. Don't run from being alone. Use it. Let it refine you, define you, and prepare you, because what you build in isolation, the world will one day see, but by then you won't need their approval because you'll already know who you are. And when you know who you are, nobody can touch you. Everyone wants to break limits. Everyone wants to unlock their next level, step into their power, become the version of themselves they keep visualizing late at night. But there's a truth most people avoid because it's not glamorous, it's not flashy, it's not viral. It's this, the secret is ruthless consistency, not intensity once a week, not effort only when you feel inspired, but a non-negotiable day in and day out commitment to your evolution, whether you feel like it or not. See, motivation will get you started. A vision might light the fire, but only consistency will carry you when the motivation fades, and it will fade. Life will hit. Your energy will drop. Distractions will come. Doubt will whisper in your ear. But consistency, that's the discipline that stays. That's the system that refuses to break just because life gets inconvenient. That's what turns potential into performance and ideas into impact. People love the idea of transformation. They get high off the planning, the dreaming, the early hype. But when it comes down to showing up every single day, when it's dark, when it's boring, when no one's clapping, that's where most people disappear. But that's also where champions are built, in repetition, in routine. In the mundane, you want to change your life, then fall in love with doing the small things right and again and again. This is what separates those who try from those who transcend. The ones who win don't just show up when it's easy. They show up when it's raining, when it's hard, when no one's watching. They treat their commitment like oxygen, not optional, not occasional, but essential. They don't rely on hype. They build habits. They don't wait for the right conditions. They create them. And that level of consistency, it makes you dangerous. You have to stop thinking that greatness is reserved for the chosen few. It's not. It's available to anyone who's willing to do the work, even when it's not convenient, even when it's not comfortable, especially when it's not comfortable. That's where your identity is shaped, not in your highlight reel, but in your early mornings, your lonely reps, your disciplined choices when nobody's around to cheer you on. The beautiful thing is consistency doesn't require talent. It doesn't require perfect circumstances. It just requires a decision, one you make every day. And when you stack those decisions, when you build momentum through action, you don't just change your results. You change your identity. You go from being someone who wants it to someone who is it. And that shift, that's when life starts responding differently to you. But let me be real, consistency is hard. You're going to be tempted to skip, to delay, to negotiate with yourself. But the version of you who reaches the top, they don't entertain those thoughts. They don't wait to feel ready. They act because they know that every time you show up when it's hard, you're casting a vote for the future you. You're reinforcing the mindset of finisher, not just a starter, and finishers win. I'm telling you, if you just stay consistent, even imperfectly, even quietly, you will pass the ones who had more talent, more connections, more resources. Because the world underestimates the power of relentless follow through. Everyone's running fast for a week. You walk steadily for a year and you'll lap them. Not because you sprinted harder, but because you refuse to stop. So stop chasing perfection. Start chasing consistency. Stop waiting for the mood to be right. Build the system that works even when your mood isn't. You don't need to go viral. You don't need to be loud. You just need to be loyal to your habits, to your purpose, to the standard you've committed to. And when you live like that, when your discipline becomes your lifestyle and your consistency becomes your identity, there's no limit to how far you can go. The world won't need to be convinced. It will simply watch you become undeniable. So here we are. You've heard every word. You've felt the shift building. But this isn't just another speech. It's a call to war, not with the world, with yourself. A war against distraction, doubt, weakness, and comfort. Operation Mahadev is not a moment. It's a mindset. It's the commitment to focus when the world screams noise, to choose discipline when everything around you whispers compromise, to execute in silence, to grow in solitude, and to show up day after day without applause because you know who you're becoming. You don't need validation. You don't need permission. You've already been chosen by the fire inside you. The question is, will you answer? Will you rise? Will you unleash that version of you that doesn't flinch, doesn't fold, doesn't wait? This is your time. This is your path. This is your operation. Now go finish what you started. Mahadev mode,